Hi guys, Paul Reese here with DPRS Unlimited. Today's video is a response to a question that I got from Mr. Mongol Money. I apologize if I pronounced that wrong, but I'll write it right here. So originally it asked me how I get around double closes. Okay, and when I told him, what I told him was you can either use transactional funding, you can do the LLC scenario, or you can look around and use persistence to find somebody who does a double close. Now this really led to just more questions. So I'll read his email right here, and then I'll try and answer it as fully as possible. So verse says, thanks for your reply. I'm sure you know how hard it is trying to find investors, tons of wholesalers, closing deals via double close. Never heard of anybody doing it until now. Okay, are there any particular transactional funding lenders you recommend? Is it considered back-to-back if we use transactional and then from the A to B and then go from the B to the C close with cash? For the LLC scenario, do you create the LLC at the time of the transaction, or did it already exist? Should we have one in place prior to? The reason I'm asking is because it can take forever to officially get the LLC filed with the state. Then lastly, how and when do you sell the LLC during the deal and after the deal is closed? I know the question led to more questions, but this info really helps. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that was the gist of his questions. So I'll try and answer it in order. So are there any transactional lenders that I personally recommend? No. The reason is because there's a lot of scrupulous companies out there. I'm not going to put my name on the line. Most of the transactional funding that I use, I actually negotiate it with private money lenders. So what I say to them basically is, I mean, it's something I've heard of, it's something I know exists, so we just schedule the loan as such. What it is it's usually 24 to 24-hour to 15-day loan. They give it to me for 1 to 2 points. And that's all they have to do. They fund it from the A to the B. They only do it if I have an end buyer already in place and ready to go, usually a contract already signed. So I really can't recommend you any transactional funding. I apologize. One great source that I do recommend is REI Club, the reiclub.com. As he says, the only site you'll need is a real estate investor. He does really great information on everything that has to do with real estate. So let's see. So the next question, is there considered back-to-back if we use transactional and then go with B2C? Okay. So I believe it's still considered a back-to-back close, or a simultaneous close, I think is what they like to refer to it as. But when you're calling these title companies, just don't use those words. They don't like them. They don't understand them. They're confusing. So what you got to do is you have to educate. Okay, so when you're calling these title companies, what you're going to say is, hi, my name is Paul Reese. I'm a real estate investor. Oftentimes what I do is I buy a home and the same day I'm able to sell it. Now I do have the cash available to purchase the home right away, and then I'd like to be cashed out as soon as possible. Are you guys able to handle 2 closes in the same day? Okay, this then puts them in the defensive kind of. They're trying to win your business instead of you trying to convince them that they should do a double close, something that is lines the skirts of illegal. It's not illegal, but it's a lot of banks got screwed, I think is what it was, from wholesalers not knowing what they're doing, and so they kind of just frown upon it. So with the transactional funding, again, all it is just real short funding. I highly encourage you look up the term, find some stuff on the internet. Probably don't go with any of the sites you see on the internet. What I recommend is finding local hard money lenders, or local people with a lot of money, friends, family, relatives. Go to your local REI clubs, real estate investment clubs, and network with a bunch of people. That's the best way to find money. Okay, regardless of whether you're new or you're experienced, just be honest and let them know you're trying to learn. Do some work for these people for free even, and take them out to lunch, pick their brain. Eventually you'll learn a lot about real estate. and then getting funding will be easy because they know you, they like you, and they'll be willing to hold your hand and help you out through it. And a good thing about going with people who know what they're doing when they're lending with real estate, especially locally, is if you bring them a bad deal, they're going to tell you it's a bad deal. So it really kind of saves your ass and it covers you a little bit. So nextly, for the LLC scenario, did you create the LLC at the time of transaction or did it already exist? Okay, so for any of you people who have never heard of this before, one of the ways that I get around the double close thing is what I'll do is I'll create a limited liability corporation and purchase the home in the limited liability corporation's name. Okay, then I'll take that limited liability corporation and I will sell that limited liability corporation to somebody else. Okay, and they're buying the asset itself instead of, or they're buying the corporation with the asset of the contract being in there, or the asset of the property being in there, and they're not actually buying the property itself. Okay, the reason that investors started doing this wasn't really to get away from the double close, but there's something in real estate that's called an assignment. Okay, so what an assignment says is that when I sign a contract and it says buyer and I put Paul Reese and or assigns in the line, okay, that then gives me the right to sell that contract to somebody else. A lot of banks, again, got screwed like this, okay? A lot of wholesalers didn't know what they were doing. They decided to, you know, go try and do the real estate thing, and they got these houses under contract, these bank lender owns, you know, and they put and/or signs in there and made it a signable contract. They tried to sell these contracts, and when they couldn't sell the contracts, they cut the deals. Banks lost out on a lot of money. They had a lot of houses tied up for a long time. So in order to get rid of newbie investors, they decided that they were no longer going to allow their contracts to be assignable. Now, if you're buying from for sale by owners, I highly recommend that you do make your contracts assignable, because there's nothing illegal about assigning a contract. You can sell it to somebody else. That's for another video on how to do that. But when it comes to assigning a contract, that's really the easiest way to wholesale a property. A lot of people, new investors, have never really heard of it because it doesn't exist so much anymore just because the banks got rid of it. And in order to get away from that, to be able to still wholesale these properties without assigning the contracts, what investors started doing is putting them in the LLCs. So basically, when I made an offer on a property, so say I made an offer on a property on 2070 South Lowell Boulevard, a property that I've had, or you know, used to have. So I made an offer on 2070 South Lowell Boulevard. In the buyer's name, for the buyer's name, I would put in 2070 South Lowell Boulevard LLC. Okay. Chances are that there's not going to be another 2070 South Lowell Boulevard LLC anywhere in your state. Just plain and simple. So you're probably going to get that name locked up. So I personally do it, again, check with your lawyer. I'm not saying anything that I do is going to be legal in your state or legal where you go, but this is what I do personally. So what I would do is I make that offer. Okay, and upon that offer getting accepted, I go create the LLC. Alright, so in most states what you're going to do is you're going to go to your Secretary of State. And you can usually file online, and once you go to the Secretary of State website, you look for a business filing section, and usually you can file for your corporation online. Most times it's instantaneously. I apologize for you, Mr. Mongo Money. I did look at the California Secretary of State website. You guys do not have an online registry. It seems like it's fairly difficult to probably start an LLC out in California. They do require most documents, like the articles of titles of organization, those kind of things. So, for you, this route may not be the way to go. Really, it's something that you only need to worry about for bank-owned properties, though. So, if you're out there and you're doing bank-owned properties, you know, again, go with, you know, maybe the transactional funding would be good for you. If not, maybe go with for sale by owners. For sale by owners are great because, again, you can do that assignment. So, and then from the state, or from the website there, what you're going to do is you just register your LLC. It's cost, I'm sure, varies by state. In Colorado, I believe it's only like $50 to get it registered. You insert your own documents and everything in there. Now, is it a highly protected LLC? Is it something that you should keep your property in? Probably not. But it works for the fact that the buyer does not change when it comes to the closing table. Okay, so what you're going to do is once the contract gets accepted, you formed your LLC, and in here he says that it can take a while to form your LLC. I assume what you're thinking about is maybe going through lawyers or things like that, where you have to pay like $300 to $500 to get them to write up your titles of organization and all those things. You don't need any of those documents really. Well, I don't use any of those documents when I'm doing any of this because I'm not keeping that LLC. I don't want that LLC to be protected. I don't really care how, ironclad that LLC is. I just want it to be turnkey, in and out, that I can give to somebody else, and then they can liquidate its assets and do whatever they want with them. Okay, so I apologize for going off on that tangent, but something that you needed to know. Okay, so you have your LLC, or you've got your contract, you got it accepted, you've created the LLC. Okay, and so now this LLC owns this contract, okay? This contract to purchase this property in 2070 South Lowell Boulevard. Okay, if it's a good deal, and it's a good wholesale deal, all you do is wholesale it the same. Put up ads, house for sale, blah, 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 blah. Get investors calling you, call your cash buyers list, whatever. But once you find a buyer, what you're going to do is you're going to sell them the LLC for a set price, like whatever your wholesale price wants to be. So say you're expecting to get $5,000 out of this, you're going to then sell them that LLC for $5,000. Okay, when you sell them that LLC, you collect your money, they take it to close, they finish up whatever they had to do, and you're done. You're out. They finish up everything else. So, let's see. When do you sell the LLC? During the deal, after the deal is closed. So, yeah, I think that pretty much fully answers your question. I hope this is helpful. If it did not fully answer your question, or if any of you guys watching this have any other questions for me, feel free to put them in the comments below. I'll answer them as I can. As most of you guys know who have inboxed me, I really hate to type, so more than likely I'll throw up a video or something like that if it's a really long answer. But, yeah, feel free to hit me with the answers. Thank you guys so much. This has been DPRS Unlimited, the little guy helping the little guy.